Post-cabinet briefing.
Of the media, I am very happy on this occasion to report on the decisions that were made at today's cabinet meeting. As you are all aware, cabinet had a special sitting today to discuss the recommendations made by the task force whose responsibility it was to look at the GATE program and make recommendations. I am pleased, as I said before, to share with you the decisions that Cabinet has taken with respect to GATE. I begin. Effective August 2016, that is this year, students who are at present enrolled in various programs will continue to receive funding for the entire program. Students who are registered to begin programs in 2016 will be fully funded for the academic year 2016-2017. Effective for the academic year 2017 to 2018 and beyond, a means test will be used. For the academic years 2017 to 2018 and beyond, students will be required to pay 25% of their tuition fees as follows. Effective August 2017, students whose household income falls below $10,000 per month will be eligible for 100% funding. This will be determined by means testing. Where the household income is above $10,000, students will be required to pay 25% of their tuition fees. Where the household income is above $20,000 per month, students will be required to pay 50% of their tuition fees. Effective August 2017, funding for postgraduate degrees will be available to students whose programs are in alignment with the country's development needs. Effective August 2017, only TVET levels 3 and above will be funded. Effective August 2017, only institutions and programs accredited by ACTT will be funded. Effective August 2016, students should only be funded for one undergraduate program and one postgraduate program. Continuing students will be allowed to complete undergraduate programs for which funding had previously been approved. Effective August 2016, the loan ceiling for students at local institutions will be raised to $35,000 annually, with the ceiling for students at regional institutions to remain at $75,000 annually. In the long term, the government of Trinidad and Tobago will review its policies in respect of being the sole guarantor of loans and the subsidization of interest. Effective August 2016, persons over the age of 50 years will no longer be eligible for GATE funding. Continuing students over the age of 50 enrolled in undergraduate programs will be granted funding to complete their program. Effective August 2017, students enrolled in non-medical programs at regional campuses of UWI that are offered at the St. Augustine campus will only be funded to the equivalent level of funding at St. Augustine campus. Effective August 2016, the government of Trinidad and Tobago will discontinue the funding of new students in the medical program at St. George University in Grenada, St. George's University in Grenada. Additional resources will be provided to effectively manage its increased responsibilities. The government of Trinidad and Tobago will consider additional funding, including offering education saving bonds, and arrangements and details will be provided subsequently. Our government will establish a National Education Savings Fund. Private sector organizations will also be encouraged by tax incentives to make fund contributions on behalf of the children of their employees or to engage in other philanthropic initiatives that build the fund. The government of Trinidad and Tobago will consider fiscal incentives to encourage insurance companies and the credit unions to invest in the development of education-saving products. These are the recommendations and the decisions that have been taken at the meeting of Cabinet this morning. I will now invite members of the media to question.
Minister, given what you've announced here, is the government of the view that these decisions, in light of all the factors, economic, socioeconomic, and whatever else, is the government satisfied that this is the best decision to take at this stage moving forward?
Yes, this is the precise view of this government, and I have been advised that these initiatives in the first year will allow us to save approximately $100 million, and in the subsequent years, $200 million, until we reach our target of an expenditure of $500 million, and that is $500 million on the GATE program.
Okay, so, but basically, are we looking here at government eventually reducing the amount of funding it puts forward to GATE and private sector taking it up, or will there be an ingrained component of government funding in the GATE program going forward?
This government has given a commitment that it will retain GATE. It will ensure that GATE is relevant, easily accessible, and available to all those who need it. That is the position, that is the official position of the government of Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, so therefore what we're looking at here is that the students who are in the program right now going into the academic year 2016-2017, they don't have any issues, but the actual payments, the additional payments will kick in from August 2017?
Those students who are already enrolled in programs at present, they will have their programs funded. Those students who are about to be enrolled, as I indicated just now, for the academic year 2016-2017, they will have their program funded. But for the academic year 2017-2018 and beyond, they will be required to contribute 25% of their tuition fees.
Minister, is this change subject to further change or review, or is this the final change for now? Maybe next year could we expect some further tightening as well?
This is the official position of the government of Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, nothing in this world is cast in concrete, and it all depends on how things go. There might be the possibility of changes, but at present, this is the position of the government of Trinidad and Tobago.
Can you explain the difference in approach to medical students, especially when Dr. Rowley was telling students in Jamaica that medical students are more than likely safe, and then we have these changes. Can you explain that change in policy?
There's no change in policy, but
it's different from what Dr. Rowley would have told the students at the Mona campus.
I am not aware that our Prime Minister said anything that is different from what I've just enunciated with respect to our medical students.
But just to confirm, so you said they're not funding at St. George's anymore, right? And that's that medical program?
Yes, but our Prime Minister did not say anything different. What we have found is that with respect to St. George's University, the cost of funding is much higher than the cost of funding at any of our regional campuses. In addition to that, the student enrollment at St. George's is way below that of St. Augustine, Cave-Hill, and Mona.
Minister, you spoke about the means test, and I just want to clarify a few things. The monthly income is joint income of a two-parent situation?
I took pains to relate the household income, the monthly household income. In other words, if a student lives with his parents, we will take into consideration the joint income of the parents, and even if the student is employed. So it is the monthly household income.
What sort of, I don't know if you have it as yet, but what sort of questions will be on means test, and how will you avoid some doctoring of figures and so on, as is what goes on in other means tests apart from this?
At this point, I'm sure you will understand that with respect to the means test, that will have to be administered by a special group in the Ministry of Education. So at this point, I cannot proffer any suggestion as to how that will go, except to say that we'll ensure that it is transparent and that those who are entitled to the offerings as a result of the means testing, that they will have every opportunity to be accommodated.
Is there going to be any conversation with the principals of UWI or whoever makes these rules, but to not raise the cost of tuition too much within this immediate period, so at least people may have an understanding of how much they will have to pay now? Is there any way to at least cap the tuition increases at this time? Any discussion on that?
In case of tuition costs at the level of universities, that is determined by the Finance and General Purposes Committee of UWI, of which I am a member. So any decision where that is concerned, I will have a part to play after consulting with my cabinet colleagues.
Do you think that that is going to come up soon, at least for now, to not raise tuition fees?
No, I don't envisage that in the distant future, or even in the near future.
Do you envision raising fees?
No, I don't envisage there will be any raise in fees right now.
Minister, do you have on you a list of the postgraduate programs that are in line with the country's development needs?
This is something that we are actively engaged in. If you look at the internet, you would see some suggestions with respect to the country's development needs. But we need to have some further discussions on that to determine exactly what we will accept as our development needs.
Minister, could you maybe give us an idea of the rationale as to how the decision to use the figures of 10,000 households with earning 10,000 and 20,000, what was the exact methodology and thinking into using those as the figures to determine who is eligible for gate funding and who pays a certain percentage for gate funding?
That methodology was determined by the task force, except that the task force had set a figure of $9,000 as the ceiling, and Cabinet thought, in view of the economic situation of many of our students, that we should raise that from 9,000 to 10,000.
Okay. You also spoke a little bit about only accredited institutions being funding. So under the announcement that you've made here, exactly how many tertiary institutions in the country will not be eligible for funding, and you have an idea of who they are?
Well, that will be determined by the ACTT. At present, we have two types of accreditations and recommendations. We have institutions that are accredited, and we have programs that are also accredited. Under the ACTT, the Accreditation Council of Trinidad and Tobago will make the final decision. That is their remit.
And as Minister of Education, are you satisfied that, given the announcements that you've made here, that one of the problems you see with GATE a lot is persons not doing the programs that they're supposed to be doing and just floating through the system? Are you satisfied that that particular issue, the tightening up on the wastes and inefficiency that the Prime Minister alluded to previously on this issue, that will be further reduced under these initiatives?
Yes, I am very satisfied that the initiatives that will be put in place will discourage a lot of the waste that seemed to have been inherent in this program.
Minister, I think the final one for me, are you satisfied that, especially for that household $10,000 bracket, that tertiary education is still within the reach of that household, especially in a family where there are 2, possibly 3 children of university age?
I'm not sure that I understand your question completely.
For those who are making just between the 10,000 and 20,000, when they have to pay 25%, correct me if I'm wrong, if there's a household with 2, possibly even 3 students, is university education still within the reach of that family for all 3 children?
Yes, we are convinced that none of our students will be disadvantaged. In fact, what the task force report has been able to reveal is that so far, with respect to GATE, most of the funding in GATE has been accessed by persons in the middle and lower income brackets. And this is why we want to ensure that we lift that bar from 9,000 to 10,000 as was recommended by task force, so that those in the lower income bracket can benefit.
I just wanted to ask you to elaborate a little bit more on the persons over 50 not being eligible for GATE after effective August this year. Is the thinking that GATE should be more for persons below 40, and that one is trying to discourage older persons who might not have had the opportunity for tertiary education early in their lives to come back into the system now?
It has nothing to do with discouraging people from accessing tertiary education. We are faced with a position where, because of our financial situation, we have to ensure that the GATE program is run in an efficient manner, and also that there must be some level of cutbacks, because if our economy is shrinking, obviously everybody must make a sacrifice. It was the view of Cabinet that persons over the age of 50 would have already been employed, and therefore they would be in a better position to contribute towards the education.
Is anybody going to be appointed full-time to monitor these new systems and ensure that they're working properly, there's no corruption, and we don't have to go through this again 5 years from now?
Yes, and that is a very good question, because one of the decisions that we have taken is that we have to ensure that the agencies within the Ministry of Education that have the responsibility of administering this GATE program must be strengthened. And therefore, exactly what you are saying, we will want to put in place persons with the relevant competence to ensure that all the recommendations that we have made will be working and that the GATE program will be effective.
My final question will be on the National Education Saving Fund you mentioned. Have the mechanics already been put in place for that, or should we expect to hear more from the Minister of Finance in the budget?
What I said just now is that details will be made available later on, and that will be subject to further discussions, especially with respect to the Minister of Finance. Okay, I wish to thank you very much, members of the media. Thank you.
Anthony